Time to behave.
Time to be good.
Yes, sir.
So
I
y'all,
miss
y'all are remotely, y'all are remotely too?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got to go into the hospital this evening.
Okay.
And I just got back from Wyatt getting married in, of all places, Utah.
Wow. But it
Okay.
was pretty.
It
Yeah.
was.
You,
He's the last of the Mohicans. I have no more to get married.
Good job,
you
man.
won't have,
Congratulations.
you won't have to spend any more money.
Yeah. I'd have paid double
Gentlemen,
to,
this is Bridget. We
Hey,
are about
Bridget.
to
Hey,
get started. I
Bridget.
just want to let y'all know.
thank you.
Okay. Good morning.
I guess it's probably just safer to go ahead and mute ourselves until they need us.
All right, great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Delta State University. We will allow Dr. Ennis to give us a more formal welcome and presentation at a later time, and we look forward to hearing from him. I call this June meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Institutions of Higher Learning to order. Bridget has informed me some of our trustees are participating also by Zoom, so they will be able to participate as we move forward. Dr. Ennis, I thank you and your staff for hosting the tour yesterday, which was outstanding, and the dinner, which was exceptional as well, and our opportunity to visit with each other. Thank you for putting that together. I asked some of the many people who showed me the correct room, how many Delta State employees does it take to get an incompetent trustee into the right room? I couldn't count that high because I ran out of fingers and toes, but we appreciate the exceptional welcome by you and by your staff and the great participation by everyone here. We have a few trustees, as I said, who are joining us virtually. So good morning, Trustee Cunningham.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Trustee Martin and Trustee Rader are also participating.
Good morning.
Good morning. So trustees and IEOs, if y'all would remember, these microphones are like we have when we are in our normal boardroom. You punch the little push button and the green light comes on, and then we'll be able to record and people will be able to hear you. So we'll follow our normal procedure there. Trustee Hubbard, would you provide us with an invocation this time? Thank you, Trustee Hubbard. I believe that we have one SGA president in attendance today. If so, would you please come to the microphone and introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hayden Kirkhart, and I am currently proudly serving as the Student Government Association president here at Delta State University, and I am honored to welcome you all here at Delta State.
Hayden, where are you from?
I am from Sumter, South Carolina, but now here after 4 years in Mississippi, I'm proud to claim Cleveland as my own.
Well, thank you. I think Dr. Ennis has the same story, so we appreciate that. We are going to be using some of your SGA facilities as from time to time as some of us have to step out, and we appreciate you sharing those with us today. Has everyone on the board had an opportunity to review the minutes of the May meeting? If so, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Is there any discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay?
Aye.
Okay, I think I heard Trustee Rader. What about Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
And then I think we also have Trustee Martin.
Aye.
Thank you very much. So it's at this time that I'm going to invite Dr. Daniel Ennis to provide us with a deeper understanding of Delta State and give us another welcome.
Welcome to the IHL, to assembled dignitaries and fellow academics. Welcome to the campus of Delta State University at a time of great celebration. In 1925, the people of the Delta recognized that this region needed a full range of educational institutions, from primary school through college. And local leaders convinced the Mississippi legislature to fund Delta State Teachers College. History proves that the act to create Delta State was the best higher education bill the legislature ever passed. We're still waiting for another good one. 100 years ago on this very spot, Delta State's first faculty were getting ready to welcome Delta State's first students. We are proud of what they built and what we've continued. And I'm honored to share with you Delta State's tradition of resilience and relevance. Resilience undergirds the strength of our students. They know what Delta State is and what it can be. A public regional university in a region that deserves all the opportunities we can give them. We didn't raise tuition last year, and we won't raise it this year because we need to keep this experience within reach of our community. Our decision to hold the line on tuition isn't a concession to low quality. It's a commitment to economic justice and the American dream. Presentations such as these are expected to offer facts and figures, and I invite you on occasion as I speak to consult the facts and figures on this okra head. If there was a resilience factor, which I could report, I'm convinced that Delta State students would be off the charts. Not all students are athletes, but our athletic programs say something about our institutional character. Our students over the years have won 14 national championships, and those are won by athletes overlooked by larger schools, competing in facilities that cost a fraction of those at many other institutions. These on-field accomplishments are a metaphor for the university as a whole. We specialize in students who overachieve while being under the radar. Along with resilience, relevance has always been at the heart of our mission. Delta State started as a teacher college, and every major program we've added to our curriculum since 1925 has had a clear line to opportunity. We expanded into nursing, to aviation, to business, and most recently into technologies such as geospatial information systems, sound recording and engineering, and artificial intelligence. When this institution opened its doors in 1925, it wasn't following anyone's lead. Delta State was something new for the Delta. 100 years later, Delta State is something renewed for the Delta. Today, we join this story in progress and offer a look at what's next. On your okra head, you'll see our enrollment numbers. Almost everyone in this room knows about the enrollment cliff, and almost every university thinks about enrollment every single day. At Delta State, we address our enrollment future by leaning into practices that best serve our current enrollment, even as we build systems to increase that enrollment. When I arrived at Delta State 2 years ago, the student-faculty ratio was 10 to 1, a condition I found alarming because it meant we were carrying too much payroll for too few tuition dollars. Now it is 12-to-1, which is not only a more sustainable ratio, but a ratio that positions us to recruit more students without an increase in marginal costs. This gives us an advantage in a tight enrollment marketplace, and we're exploiting that advantage by signing transfer agreements with community colleges in our region and by revising our financial aid strategies so we can now offer free tuition to Pell-eligible freshmen. At our current size, we remain nimble, able to respond rapidly to changing economic conditions, to grow what's working, and yes, to set aside that which no longer serves our students. The faculty, rightly, control the curriculum, but students determine the shape of the curriculum, and their needs are expressed in their enrollment patterns. Over the last 13 months, Delta State replaced 21 low-enrolled programs with 4 new and highly marketable degrees. Our faculty responded to enrollment demands. You'll notice on your ochre head that we promote our academic offerings with verbs: fly, nurse, map, record, market, and teach. We want students to be able to do something in this world, in this country, in this state, and in this region. We know that employers will only recruit students who can present useful skills and only retain those employees with the ability to upskill year after year. So we teach our students to talk about what they can do. This local approach to a universal challenge is particularly important in Mississippi. As our state loses educated workers, Delta State stands against that trend. 82% of our student body hails from Mississippi. We're giving reasons a student to stay. We're giving students a reason to stay in Mississippi. When we educate students closer to home, they are more likely to graduate and they're more likely to stay. We're proud that almost 3/4 of the elementary school teachers in this region attended Delta State University, a function of our 100% pass rate on the Praxis 2. When our graduates stay, Mississippi grows. Given Delta State's need and commitment to help Mississippi, our results are only worth sharing if they help improve the quality of life for all of our fellow Mississippians. For example, we have a 100% job placement rate for our nursing students, which I expect and know that our sister universities do as well, given the statewide demand for nurses. We match that placement rate with a 100% pass rate on the NCLEX nursing exam, which means that not only does every one of our nurses walk from commencement directly into a job, but that every nursing student we welcome to campus will leave qualified to contribute to the workforce. And most crucially, 73% of our nurses are still employed in Mississippi within 5 years of graduation. All of our stakeholders, especially our IHL trustees, are concerned about degree completion rates. Our first-year student retention rate for the 2 years I've been president has averaged 70%. At some universities, a 70% retention rate would be cause for concern. But y'all, I'm proud of that number. And here's why. We maintain retention even though 49% of our students are Pell eligible. The national retention rate for Pell eligible students is 34%. So Delta State admits a high percentage of Mississippi's most financially vulnerable students, and we graduate them at a much higher rate than the national average. In higher ed terms, we are Ginger Rogers to Fred Astaire. We do everything they do, but we do it backwards and in high heels. There is a lazy and vicious way to increase first-year retention. One can filter admissions decisions by FAFSA scores. To be blunt, you can leave the poor and the strivers behind. You can give up on a portion of our Mississippians. And yes, there are private colleges that must survive on that model, but we are not a private college. We're a public university. As the IHL contemplates a new higher education funding formula, I offer this risk-benefit analysis of the enrollment of students with significant financial need. The risk is indeed a lower overall retention rate. The benefit is that when we outperform national retention rates for Pell-eligible students, we put more taxpayers into our economy, and we significantly reduce the chances of a fellow Mississippian ending up on public assistance. If a future funding formula does not take into account the financial status of a student at matriculation, IHL will create incentives to leave students behind. Mississippi needs us to bring more students along. Even if we can enroll them and support them with low tuition and scholarships, the students we serve are also vulnerable to a growing technology gap. And access to and training in high tech has already become a filter of sorts in terms of student employability. To that end, you will recall that all 4 of the new degree programs Delta State submitted to the IHL this year had significant technological investments. And the conversion of analog degrees into digitally enriched programs that teach the tools of tomorrow is a necessary tool for student survival. We're helping students navigate careers that don't exist yet, and we give them the confidence to adapt and lead. I want to draw your attention to the image of Keyshawn Jennings on the slide before you. In 2023, Keyshawn, an all-conference offensive lineman and senior in our finance program, was named a Swayze Scholar by the Mississippi Young Bankers Association. That award is presented annually to the outstanding college senior studying banking and finance at a university in the state of Mississippi. Keyshawn could have written his ticket, the outstanding finance student in the state of Mississippi. He could have moved to Nashville or Atlanta or Dallas, and we would have wished him well and expected him to be a successful alum. Keyshawn chose to stay in the Delta. Not only is he a rising star at our local Planters Bank, but he donates time to local schools by leading financial literacy workshops. We want students to know that they don't have to leave to lead. They can grow here, stay here, and change things here. As a public regional university, we believe that we have a special responsibility to identify, mentor, and promote our local talent. And some of our best and brightest, coming from underfunded Mississippi schools, do not show up in traditional higher education admissions metrics. That isn't their fault, but it is our fault if we overlook them. Finding and educating those students is the best investment we can make of our shrinking state funding, and we pay the taxpayers back by producing graduates who will build Mississippi's economy. Our shared future, one we all believe in, is built together. The last time I addressed the IHL was in August 2023. I had completed just 2 months on the job, and I delivered a frank assessment of Delta State's challenging financial situation. The university was struggling with persistent deficits, and worse, even an outsider like me could perceive a crisis of confidence. Even the university's defenders had doubts about Delta State's viability. You, as a board, empowered me to come back to Cleveland and do my job. Now you're in Cleveland, you may witness our renaissance. Delta State has been managing 2 years of rapid, dizzying change, but positive change. From our financial processes to our curriculum, to our leadership culture, to our recruitment mindset. In year 1, we went from a deficit to a surplus. In year 2, we exceeded our own projections and doubled our cash on hand. Everyone at Delta State sacrificed something to give us fiscal breathing room. And now, anyone who doubted our viability is, and will be, on the wrong side of history. On behalf of Delta State University, I thank the IHL for its support. I suspect it would have been politically advantageous for some of you to join hands with those in the Capitol who think Mississippi, a state that ranks 49th in degree attainment, needs fewer universities. You didn't, and you were right not to do so. And as to our newer board members, I'm giving you the opportunity to get on the ground floor of an unbeatable investment, believing in Delta State. We're the fighting okra, not the barely hanging on okra, not the pity poor me okra. We've overhauled our enrollment operation. We're launching a new branding campaign. We have fiscal stability, and we have a product we're proud of, and another century of resilience and relevance ahead. So we're going to give you a sneak peek into our new promotional material. Let's go right now together.
History doesn't happen in 100-year chunks. It happens one day at a time. It happens in imaginations that become reality. It happens in the stories we tell. It's happening now. Our founding and our future were born of the same impulse, preparing generations to create the community that we want to be part of. We can't always predict what will get us there, like tech, what leader, what if. But we know from our experiences the difference between being ready and not. And we're ready. Let's go.
Thank you.
As all of you know, there are many challenges facing higher education. We appreciate all of our IEOs facing those. And Dr. Ennis, we appreciate you doing that with ingenuity and inspiration and with a unified voice with your faculty, staff, and students. Now is the time for us to review the consent agendas. Are there any items that need to be moved to the regular agenda for consideration? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agendas? Is there a second? Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Trustee Rader? Trustee Rader, if you responded, I wasn't able to hear you. No, Trustee Rader's a little further off than the others are geographically, and sometimes that's a challenge. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
I heard you then. Thank you for your response. Motion passes. We'll now move to the regular agenda. Trustee Hubbard, an alumnus of Delta State, would you please present the Academic Affairs regular agenda?
Thank you. Academic Affairs has 6 items on the regular agenda. Dr. Casey Presswood will present this information for the board's consideration.
The first item on the agenda is a proposed amendment to Board Policy 602D. The rationale for this proposed amendment is to comply with U.S. Department of Education regulations for documentation required to determine a student's Title IV federal aid eligibility. Upon approval by the board, this policy will become effective immediately. For transfer students who have completed between 30 and 60 transferable hours at their previous institutions, but have not completed an associate degree or bachelor's degree, we will now require that the student provide proof of high school completion in order for the student to receive federal Title IV aid. Students applying for aid without the appropriate documentation can be awarded aid for their first semester only, but must provide the appropriate documentation by the end of that term. Federal awards will not be made in subsequent terms unless the documentation is on file with the institution or the student has completed at least 60 credit hours applicable toward their degree. Board staff recommends waiver of the second reading and final approval of this item.
You've heard the recommendation. I make a motion to approve item 1.
There's been a motion and a second to approve item 1. Is there any discussion? If not, if all in favor would say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Trustee Rader?
Aye.
The motion passes. Dr. Presswood, if you'd please proceed.
The second item on the agenda is a request from the University of Southern Mississippi to add a new center. The Mississippi Early Childhood Inclusion Center, housed in the College of Education and Human Sciences, has been funded by the Mississippi Department of Human Services Division of Early Child Care and Development since 2016. The center is a statewide program that meets the needs of early childhood educators, family, and young children with disabilities by providing high-quality early childhood inclusion. The mission of this center is to collaborate with families, early childhood professionals, and communities to support the inclusion of young children with disabilities through professional development, classroom support, resource provision, and advocacy. The established scope and statewide reach for this center now meet the criteria for USM to formally request creation from the board. Board staff recommends approval of this item.
You've heard the recommendation. I make a motion to approve item 2.
There's been a motion and a second to approve item 2. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham,
Aye.
Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Raider, Trustee Raider, I didn't hear you if you were able to. Thank you. I heard that one. Thank you very much. The motion passes. Dr. Presswood, if you'd please proceed.
Next on the agenda, the University of Southern Mississippi requests to elevate several existing emphasis areas to new academic degree programs. The Bachelor of Arts in Paralegal Studies is a 120 credit hour program that currently exists as an emphasis of the BA in Legal Studies. The current emphasis is approved by the American Bar Association Standing Committee on Paralegals and has held this distinction since 1990. The BA in Paralegal Studies prepares students for employment in private law firms, business, and government offices. MEW also offers a BA and a BS with the same zip code. The Bachelor of Applied Science and Medical Laboratory Science is a 120 credit hour program that is specifically designed for students who have graduated from an accredited 2-year medical laboratory technician program with an associate degree. Graduates of this program will be prepared for medical laboratory science certification from the American Society for Clinical Pathology or American Medical Technologies. USM has an existing BS degree program in medical laboratory science, and this program will utilize existing faculty and resources. No other institutions offer a BAS degree program with this zip code. The next 3 programs currently exist as emphases of the Doctor of Nursing Practice. The Family Nurse Practitioner Program is a 73 credit hour program that prepares future advanced practice nurses in the role of family practice. No other institution offers a DNP program with this code. The Nurse Anesthesia Program is a 114 credit hour program that prepares registered nurses to administer anesthetics and provide care for patients before, during, and after anesthesia. No other institution offers a DNP program with this zip code. The Psychiatric Mental Health Nurse Practitioner Program is a 77 credit hour program that prepares advanced practice nurses to become experts in clinical practice and leaders in scholarship, research, and health systems for the promotion of healthcare improvement. No other institution offers a DNP with this zip code. The next 2 programs currently exist as emphases of the Doctor of Philosophy and Psychology. The Clinical Psychology Program is a 111 credit hour program that prepares graduates to provide therapy in clinical populations across the lifespan, emphasizing cognitive and behavioral theoretical orientations. Jackson State University offers a doctoral program with this zip code. The Counseling Psychology Program is a 119 credit hour program that prepares graduates to provide interventions which foster psychological health and adaptive development. No other institution offers a doctoral program with this zip code. The School Psychology Program is a 122 credit hour program that prepares professionals to provide psychological services to children in a variety of settings, including schools, clinics, and hospitals. No other institution offers a doctoral program with this zip code. The Doctor of Philosophy in Research, Evaluation, Statistics, and Assessment is a 66 credit hour program that currently exists as an emphasis of the PhD in education. This program prepares individuals for academic and non-academic positions such as research, assessment specialists, program evaluators, grant coordinators, policy analysts, data analysts, and university faculty. No other institution offers a doctoral program with this zip code. Board staff recommends approval of these items.
You have heard the recommendation and make a motion to approve item 3.
There's been a motion to approve item 3. Is there a second? There's a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham,
Aye.
Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Raider.
Aye.
The motion passes. Dr. Presswood, if you would proceed.
Next on the agenda are requests to add new baccalaureate level academic degree programs. Delta State University requests the Bachelor of Arts in Arts Entrepreneurship. This 120 credit hour program will be housed in the College of Education, Arts, and Humanities and is an interdisciplinary degree designed for students who want to combine creative talent with real-world skills in business, psychology, and marketing. With concentrations in applied visual arts, music, and integrated arts, the program blends creative competence with applied strategy, preparing graduates for success in today's fast-growing creative economy. Whether launching a business, startup, producing content, designing marketing campaigns, or managing personnel, students gain the tools to turn their creativity into a competitive advantage. Several universities offer programs with similar components such as music, graphic design, expanded media arts, and media and entertainment arts. However, none of these programs have the same zip code. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment in creative and entrepreneurial roles, this is expected to grow steadily over the next decade. Many career opportunities are possible with this degree, including musicians, graphic designers, multimedia artists, art directors, and producers with salaries ranging from $49,000 to $140,000. Delta State also requests the Bachelor of Applied Science and Arts Entrepreneurship. This is also a 120 credit hour program, but it is specifically designed for students with technical or career-focused AAS degrees who seek to advance their skills and credentials in the creative industries. The University of Southern Mississippi requests the Bachelor of Arts in Medicinal and Pharmaceutical Chemistry to be housed in the School of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. This degree program is designed to prepare students for further education in pre-professional schools, particularly pharmacy schools, or in the workforce in chemical or pharmaceutical laboratory positions. The proposed program encompasses chemistry at its core. However, it differs from USM's existing chemistry major because it is in the context of a broader BA degree. Students will get exposure in communication, foreign languages, economics, statistics, and social sciences. The BA not only fulfills the requirements suggested by the American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy, but will also prepare students for any healthcare career. There are no existing programs like this in the state. Board staff recommends approval of these items.
You've heard the recommendation. I make a motion to approve item 4.
There's been a motion to approve item 4. Is there a second? There's been a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Trustee Cunningham,
Aye.
Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Raider,
Aye.
motion passes. Dr. Presswood, if you'd proceed.
The fifth item on the agenda is a request to add a new master's level academic degree program. The University of Southern Mississippi requests the Master of Science in Business Analytics to be housed at the School of Finance. This fully online 30-hour degree program combines the technical skills in software and programming needed for advanced analysis of large data sets, along with the business knowledge needed to leverage data for business decision-making. Jackson State offers a post-baccalaureate certificate in business analytics with this zip code, but no degree programs with the same zip code are offered in the state. Business analytics and data science careers are expected to grow at a rate of around 30% over the next decade, yet there are very few programs that teach the skills that are specific to these jobs, combining both the technical aspects of math and computer science with business applications and data analysis capabilities. Potential earnings in the U.S. for these careers have a median salary around $100,000. Board staff recommends approval of this item.
You've heard the recommendation, and we're almost done. I make a motion to approve item 5.
There's been a motion to approve item 5. Is there a second? Any discussion? If not, if all in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham,
Aye.
trustee Martin,
Aye.
trustee Rader.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. Dr. Presswood, if you would proceed, please.
The last item on the agenda is a request from Mississippi State University to add a doctoral level academic degree program. Mississippi State requests the creation of the Doctor of Physical Therapy. This 106-hour degree program based at the Meridian campus leverages an innovative hybrid model, allowing students to complete roughly 50% of their coursework through asynchronous and synchronous online instruction. 20% will be on-campus short-term labs dedicated to clinical and hands-on skill development, and 30% will be in-person clinical experiences in the students' communities. The University of Mississippi Medical Center and William Carey University offer programs in physical therapy using an in-person residential model of delivery. The University of Mississippi and the University of Mississippi Medical Center submitted an objection to this proposal to establish a Doctor of Physical Therapy program. Board staff recommends approval of this item.
You have heard the recommendation. I make a motion to approve item 6.
There's been a motion to approve item 6. Is there a second? A second? Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have previously stated that I had some concerns about this item. However, after reviewing all the materials, I am persuaded that due to the significant private investment in this program, I intend to support the proposition.
Thank you, trustee Clark. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? I think I heard trustee Rader, trustee Cunningham,
Aye.
trustee Martin.
Aye.
Motion passes.
This concludes the academic affairs regular agenda.
Thank you, trustee Hubbard, and thank you, Dr. Presswood. Trustee Stevenson, if you would please present the finance regular agenda.
Thank you. We have 17 items on the regular agenda today. They include a revision to a meal plan at Jackson State University, the allocation of appropriations for fiscal year 2026, approval of the operating budget for FY 2026, approval of the appropriations request to the legislature for FY 2027, exclusion resolutions from Mississippi State University and the University of Mississippi, and consideration of 11 contracts from the institutions. I'll call on Dr. Pierce to discuss these items specifically.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a revision request to the 2026 board rate for the Block 50 plus $150 Tiger Bucks meal plan and associated flex dollars from $724 annually to $1,448. This item was originally approved at the May 2025 board meeting and was submitted by the institution as a per semester rate rather than an annual rate. Board staff recommends approval of item number 1.
You have heard recommendation from board staff. I move to approve item number 1.
There's been a motion to approve item number 1. Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham,
Aye.
trustee Martin,
Aye.
trustee Rader.
Aye.
The motion passes. You'd proceed with item 2.
Item number 2 is the allocation of appropriations from this spring's legislative session. You should have at your desk a PowerPoint which will contain the information. Coming out of this spring's legislative session, the appropriations for the system were reduced by 36.6 million, which is a 4.2% cut. This does not include the reduction in the capital funding through bonds or other appropriations in lieu of bonds. We've noted the reduction there in the footnotes. The system did not receive any capital funding or bonds in this legislative session. In addition to the $36 million reduction that's shown here, the system also has a $10 million increase in PERS and health insurance rate. So this would bring the total reduction in economic value to the system of 46 million or 5.5%. For the institutions, it was a $5 million reduction or 1%. But the PERS increase was 4.5 million. So this brings the total economic reduction to the system at 2%. Most of the appropriations that come to the system go to the support of the state universities. This would be the traditional education function, the E&G budget at 451 million, followed by the University of Mississippi Medical Center with a separate budget. And then we have other categories for the AGS, some subsidiary programs, and the state financial aid program. Of the amounts that are decided by the board, only a portion of this blue column for education in general is decided by the board because it's received as a lump sum from the university. The other items such as agriculture, UMMC, those are all line items and a separate appropriation bill by the legislature. So for the education and general budget, these are line items in the campus budget bill that are directed by the legislature. So of the 451 million that you see, almost 13 million of this is, or 12 million is line item by the legislature. The changes that you see at Mississippi State University are reduction in funding for the T.K. Martin Center year over year, and the increase at the University of Southern Mississippi is for the DeBard School. So taking those out, we're recommending a across the board 1.1% reduction for all the remaining funds. The request of the legislature in the current session was to increase the salaries for the faculty at the institutions, and it would have been prorated up had there been an increase in funding, but because there's a reduction, we're recommending a prorated decrease. So when you look at the overall blending these together, you can see that the average still comes out to 1.1%, but there's deviations from MSU and USM because of the line items that we looked at earlier. For the state student financial aid budget, this is overseen by a separate board, but we account for these funds through our accounting process. The reduction there is due to a change in forecasted need for the grants created by the legislature. The University of Mississippi Medical Center received a cut. The agricultural budgets, 3 of the 5 received a cut. This is based on vacant positions that were shown in the bill. So the vacant positions were taken out, and the legislature decided not to fund those. The increase that you're seeing at Alcorn State and MSU was an added back for the PERS that the legislature intended to fund. But if you had a cut greater than the PERS, then you're seeing a cut here. These are the subsidiary programs. The board office is listed at the top. You can see the board office had a $650,000 cut. This is almost 8%. 500,000 of that was for capital funds to do some repairs at the JSU Center on our campus. So it's $156,000 operating cut for the board office. The remainder of these follow the same pattern of PERS, addressing PERS and addressing vacant positions. Board staff recommends approval of FY 2026 appropriation allocation.
You have heard the recommendation from board staff. I move to approve item number 2.
There's been a motion to approve item number 2. Is there a second? There's been a second. Is there any discussion? I will say we're thankful to the legislature for their appropriations. We realize they have a difficult task of balancing many needs across our state. I also acknowledge just personally that it was a lot more fun when I was in college as a 20-year-old in the 1970s than it is being a 70-year-old in the 2020s. And there's also been a change in our funding percentage. When I was in college, 70% of the cost of a student was funded by our state, and now it's 30%. And that doesn't appear to be unusual with what's happening in other states, but it does explain require tuition is much higher. And we appreciate schools are able to hold tuition, but we know that's not the case for every university. But we are thankful for what we've received. Sound like I'm saying a prayer, but we generally are. Is there any other discussion? All right, if not, if all in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Trustee Rader?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. Dr. Pierce, please proceed.
Item number 3 is approval of the FY 2026 annual operating budget. The institutions and the medical center are presenting for you today for your consideration approval of a 6.3 billion annual operating budget for FY 2026. You can see on this chart, we've put out a comparison of how much of the budget is composed of state appropriations. You'll see with the subsidiary, financial aid is mostly funded by the state, followed by the agricultural programs. What's reducing the agricultural program there is the College of Veterinary Medicine, which has tuition component. The subsidiaries at 43%. Most of that is due to the board office risk pool that's collected from the institutions. Most of the subsidiaries are almost 100% funded by state appropriations. When we compare the year-over-year change, if you'll think back to the previous slide and how much of was composed by state appropriation versus self-generated fund, most of the places where you're seeing increases are going to be budgets that are funded by self-generated funds primarily. Most of the places that you're seeing decreases are funded primarily by the state, and that reflects the reduction in appropriation that we see in the most recent legislative session. You can see a significant decrease in the capital funds that we didn't show in the previous slide. An increase at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. This is due primarily to patient revenue, and we'll give some more detail about that. With the agricultural budgets, the increase is coming primarily from the College of Veterinary Medicine, which has tuition, and then the subsidiary budgets, restricted budgets, which reflects federal grants primarily, the heirs budget, and then the auxiliary budget, which is 100% self-funded. So this is the composition of the budget. At the top right, you see the education and general budget. This is the traditional education function of the 8 universities. The largest component of the budget is the University of Mississippi Medical Center at 38%. The restricted funds on the left, those are our federal grants and awards. And then at the top, you'll see our auxiliary. This is housing, food service, and athletics. Although the heirs settlement payment schedule has been fully exhausted, we still maintain the heirs budgets for the system. This amount here reflects the interest from the public and private endowment, all of which have been distributed to the 3 historically Black universities. So for the education and general budget, we're seeing an 8% increase, 122 million. The largest growth is coming at Mississippi State University and the University of Mississippi at 13% and just under 10%. This has to do with an increase in enrollment, tuition revenue. You'll see Mississippi Valley State University showing a 7.5% decrease. This has to do with some investments they made from their fund balance in the last fiscal year. So they did some repairs to the football stadium. They purchased some buses and some other equipment, and they will not be doing that in the current fiscal year. So the operating budget underneath that remains sound. As Trustee Ogletree mentioned, the largest part of our budget comes from tuition revenue at 68%, and our state appropriations have now gone from 30% to 28%. The other component at the top has to do with interest, indirect cost recovery, and some small sales and services. From the year 2000, we've seen most of the flop from funding from the state to funding from students, going from 56% to 28% in appropriations over that time period. We can look at how the budgets are spent two ways. So there is a functional way of expenditure. This is what's the mission? How does this funding tie to the mission? So primarily the mission, we think about instruction, research, and public service, which are mentioned here at the top. You can see all of these missions are growing. Institutional support is sort of the back office overhead cost of operation. This reflects a lot of our ongoing inflationary costs. So we've seen increases in insurance costs. We've seen utilities. We've seen commodity price increases. This is where a lot of those costs reside. So if we think about instruction, we think about academic support, student services, scholarship. In this slide, that makes up about 72% of the mission funding for students, and then followed by research at 5%, and public service. So almost 80% of the funding goes toward mission funding, with operation and maintenance and institutional support sort of being overhead costs. The institutions are reporting an average of around 2 and 3% pay raises for personnel. This is funded primarily by the tuition revenue that was approved by the board last month. About 5 of the 8 institutions are offering pay increases this year, with also increases in commodities and contractual services that tracks the inflationary costs. For the University of Mississippi Medical Center, looking at the schools and the University of Hospital, you'll see the largest increase, the second row from the bottom, second line from the bottom, is at the University Hospital. This reflects the addition of the UMMC Madison operation fully integrated into the budget, as well as the Ridgewood operation, which will begin later this year. The School of Nursing is seeing a decrease. This has to do with the ARPA funding that was provided for the construction. That will be reduced this year as it's exhausted. And the service area, which is the overhead part of the institution, that is also seeing a significant increase. Some of that has to do with the addition of the new hospitals and medical office buildings, but they're also facing costs such as inflation and insurance. If you think back to the campus budgets, the largest component of the UMMC budget here is the University Hospital at $2 billion. The campus budgets put together was $1.6 billion. So that puts the University of Mississippi Medical Center larger than all of the 8 universities put together. The School of Medicine at $237 is comparable to the operation of the University of Southern Mississippi. Like the institutions, the medical center saw a reduction in appropriations. The sales and services are the patient revenue that are both the Jackson campus and the 2 new hospitals. Finally, you'll notice the personnel costs that are increasing, that impacts the new hospitals, but you'll notice commodities. This is got to do with pharmaceutical contracts, other medical equipment that comes before the board. You see these nearly every month. We'll have another large contract for your consideration on this agenda. For the agricultural budgets, you'll see the primary grower here is the College of Veterinary Medicine. This reflects their ability to access tuition revenue. The other agricultural programs are primarily flat. And then these are the subsidiary units. And then finally, our auxiliary units, which reflect housing, food service, and athletics. You'll see a large growth at Mississippi State University and the University of Mississippi, and this reflects some new athletic funding. Board staff recommends approval of FY 2026 annual operating budget.
You've heard the recommendation from board staff. I move to approve item number 3.
There's been a motion to approve item number 3. Is there a second? Been a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Trustee Ray?
Mr. President, Trustee Rader had to disconnect.
All right. Then the motion passes. So Dr. Pierce, if you'd proceed.
The next item is a request for funding priorities and appropriations to the legislature for the legislative session coming up this spring. So when the board considered the tuition rates last month and approved them, some of the information that you considered at that time was our tuition rates compared to contiguous states. And so these are slides that reflected that. Only Arkansas is comparable to our tuition rate. The Alabama and Tennessee systems are much higher than the rates that we charge our residents. You can see this when you break it out by institution. So you can see the 4 of the last 5 lowest rates are from our system, Delta State University being number 5 there from the left. But even Mississippi State University, which has the highest tuition in this comparison for this year, is still in the middle. And to the right of Mississippi State University, you'll have institutions like Louisiana Tech, University of West Alabama, University of North Alabama, all which are regional universities that don't have the scope and mission of our institutions. What I thought would be helpful as we keep that in our mind and how the tuition revenue of our system is significantly lower than our peers. What we're also seeing, though, is states are investing a significant amount into their universities. So this goes back to 2019, which is a kind of pandemic benchmark, to 2025, which was the most recent information available from Grapevine. But you can see states have been investing in their institutions. So we're kind of caught in a squeeze where we have both lower tuition and a much slower rate of investment from the state. And so where does that squeeze our institutions and squeeze in what we can compensate our faculty? So we've discussed before, and previously when you saw this slide, we were at about 80% of SREB. Now we are losing ground where we're 77%, and that puts us, even with Arkansas being comparable with tuition, the average faculty salary in the Arkansas system is about $9,000 ahead of the average in our system. So this brings us to the request that we're proposing to you today. We are asking for about a $200 million increase, which would be 25% from the current legislative session. When we break that out into components, the first area that we're trying to address is restoring the cuts from the previous legislative session. So we want to keep this front of mind. We already saw the need in faculty salaries as we went into last legislative session, and now we're in further behind our capacity to address that need. We also are looking at moving toward a peer funding. So this takes the SREB median for level 1 institutions, which is about 80% of the students in our system. So what this says is, and unfortunately, the most current data is from fiscal year 2022. But what this says is if we were going to get the same kind of funding per student that other states get in 2022, we would have needed $72 million more, which is about $1,000 per student premium. And so that does not address the growth in appropriations from other states since that time. We're also asking for $80 million in capital funding. So this would be different from the bond request. This would be ongoing repair and renovation. We did not receive this funding this year, and there's been some discussion about whether this should be doubled because the needs didn't go away because we didn't get the funding. For UMMC, also requesting a restoration of the cuts and 20 million in capital funding. And for the subsidiaries and agricultural budgets, what we're asking here is restore the cuts, the salary increase that was put forth last year, and then an 8% inflationary cost, since their costs aren't tied as closely to regional medians the way that the on and off campus budget is. So we've tried to make this recommendation to you on the heels of the cut of appropriation, which is still recent, and we're still trying to get our arms around our needs and how to address this moving forward. So this address kind of reflects a normal year, as though we had gotten the appropriations we thought we were going to get, for example, in our R&R funding. But we may, as we continue to discuss and evaluate, want to come before you again and revise this request as we get a better idea of the impact of the reduction in the current session. Board staff recommends approval of the FY 2027 budget request to the legislature.
You have heard the recommendation from board staff. I move to approve item number 4.
There's been a motion to approve item number 4. Is there a second? There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I will make a general comment. If you look at the return on investment to universities, you have to measure it many different ways. One is the economic impact to the communities, which is significant. Many of you university IEOs have presented to us, including Dr. Keenum recently, an economic impact analysis of your university, and it's substantial. Then in addition to that, we have students who have degrees who earn more money that pay more in taxes, and I'm not sure how we can measure that accurately. But we do believe it's a great investment and appreciate what the legislature has given to us in the past, and hope that they'll be in a position to continue to grant this request in the future. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
The motion passes.
I recommend that we take up items 5 and 6 together unless the trustee has an objection. Dr. Pierce, please continue.
Items number 5 and 6 are requests from Mississippi State University and the University of Mississippi to approve exclusion resolutions for contracts from the National Industrial Security Program. These resolutions will exclude trustees and the commissioner from inspecting records for research from the security program. Approval will waive the oversight authority provided to the board in the Mississippi Code and the Mississippi Constitution, allowing the board to exercise and control all records, books, papers, equipment, and supplies. Similar resolutions have been approved by the board in previous years. These resolutions are presented at this time due to a change in composition of the board. Legal staff has reviewed these agreements for compliance with applicable law and finds them to be acceptable, and board staff recommends these items for the board's consideration.
You have heard the recommendation from board staff. I make a motion to approve items 5 through 6.
There's been a motion to approve items 5 and 6. Is there a second? It's been a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I recommend that we take up items 7 and 8 together unless the trustee has an objection. Dr. Pierce, please continue.
Item 7 is a request from Delta State University to enter into a new 5-year beverage sales and sponsorship agreement with PepsiCo Beverage Sales beginning July 1, 2025, and potentially extending to 7 years with 2 optional 1-year renewals. This professional services contract grants Pepsi exclusive pouring rights, vending, and marketing services across all university-owned and operating facilities. Services will include equipment provision and maintenance, annual marketing and athletic support, and commissions on vending sales. The agreement's estimated value is $426,000, with Pepsi providing $40,000 annual in support funds, $5,000 for athletic support, and promotional services of $3,500 each year. Delta State issued an RFP in January of 2025 and receiving 2 proposals. The evaluation committee selected Pepsi based on the valuation and the evaluation. Item 8 is a request from the University of Southern Mississippi to approve a new 10-year beverage pouring rights and sponsorship agreement with Coca-Cola Bottling Company, United Gulf Coast LLC, also beginning on January 1, 2025, and continuing through 2035. This is a revenue-generating contract which grants Coca-Cola exclusive beverage sponsorship, full-service vending operations, and campus-wide marketing rights. The total value of the contract includes $7.7 million in cash and sponsorship programs, with $1.9 million in marketing and in-kind contribution, and almost $300,000 in programming initiatives. Negotiations between the university and Coca-Cola began in November 2024 during the renewal window. The university selected Coca-Cola based on the financial value and alignment with the goals compared to peer institution in the Sun Belt Conference. Legal staff has reviewed these agreements for compliance with the applicable law and finds them to be acceptable, and board staff recommends approval of items 7 and 8.
You have heard the recommendation from board staff. I move to approve items 7 and 8.
It's been a motion to approve items 7 and 8. Is there a second? It's been a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
The motion passes, and I will let the record reflect that Trustee Clark is recusing himself from items 9 and 10 on the Finance and Budget regular agenda.
I recommend that we take up items 9 and 10 together unless a trustee has an objection. Dr. Pierce, please continue.
Well, thank you. Item 9 is a request from the University of Mississippi Medical Center to enter into a 5-year interagency agreement with the Mississippi Division of Medicaid to participate in the Mississippi Medicaid Access to Physician Services Program beginning July 1, 2025. This is a Medicaid-directed payment program which is designed to increase reimbursement rates for UMMC providers treating Medicaid beneficiaries. Under the agreement, UMMC will provide up to $42.5 million in intergovernmental transfers with an additional $500,000 for support services totaling $43 million over the term. The contract is funded by patient revenue and allows 4 optional 1-year renewals for a total of 5 years. The Division of Medicaid will administer the program, and selection is statutory per Mississippi Code. Item 10 is a request from Mississippi State University to enter into a 3-year lease agreement with Wade Incorporated and Deer Credit for the use of tractors by the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Experiment Station, or MAFIS. The lease, not to exceed $1 million, will cover 15 tractors delivered by July 31, 2025, and is funded by MAFIS general funds. MSU also seeks approval to prepay under the agreement. The contract allows early termination with 30 days notice if funding becomes unavailable. Wade was selected as the lowest bidder through a competitive procurement process and approved by the Public Procurement Review Board in November 2024. Legal staff has reviewed these agreements for compliance with the applicable law and finds them to be acceptable, and board staff recommends approval of items 9 and 10.
You have heard the recommendation from board staff. I move to approve items 9 and 10.
There's been a motion to approve items 9 and 10. Is there a second? There's been a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
The motion passes. And Bridget, if you would please have Trustee Clark return and let the record reflect that Trustees Martin and I are recusing ourselves from item 11 on the Finance and Budget agenda. Trustee Martin, you'll be placed into a Zoom waiting room, and I will recuse myself also from items 12 through 17 on the agenda, and Vice President Cunningham will lead the discussion in my absence.
Item number 11 is a request from the Mississippi Institutions of Higher Learning Executive Office to renew its excess auto liability insurance policy with Genesis, a Berkshire Hathaway company, for the period July 1, 2025 through July 1, 2026. This policy provides $4.5 million in excess coverage above the $500,000 of primary coverage for our fleet of 2,051 vehicles. The estimated premium is $320,000, subject to adjustment based on fleet size, with the cost billed to the universities. Genesis was originally selected through the broker Galloway Chandler McKinney after a competitive RFP in 2023, and this item represents renewal under that selection. Legal staff has reviewed this agreement for compliance with applicable law and finds it to be acceptable, and board staff recommends approval of item number 11.
You've heard the recommendation from board staff. I move to approve item number 11.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion passes. Bridget, if you would please readmit Trustee Martin to the room.
We're ready.
Let the record reflect that Trustee Ogletree will remain out of the room to recuse himself from items 12 through 17 on the finance regular agenda.
I recommend that we take up items 12 through 17 as a group unless a trustee has an objection. Dr. Pierce, please continue.
Item 12 is a request from Mississippi State University to amend its 15-year food service agreement with Aramark Educational Services, originally approved in April 2023. The amendment, which will be effective today, increases Aramark's capital investment from $34 million to $38 million to support ongoing renovations, including $4 million for upgrades to the MacArthur Cafe, Express, and kitchen facility. Aramark will continue operating food services on the Starkville campus, and MSU is projected to receive an estimated $46 million in commissions, with the total contract value estimated at $137 million. As this is an amendment to the existing contract, no new selection process was required. Item 13 is also a request from MSU to enter into a 5-year contractual services agreement with Proof of the Pudding LLC beginning July 1 with an optional 5-year renewal for a total of 10 years. Proof of the Pudding will provide game day, food and beverage concession services for MSU athletic facilities, excluding the premium areas. The contract includes $350,000 annual management fee, totaling $3.5 million over 10 years. However, MSU will not directly pay the fee as it's collected through the vendor's profit and loss. This agreement is expected to generate $1 million in annual revenue for MSU, and the vendor was originally selected through a competitive process in 2020, and MSU has been satisfied with their services. Item 14 is a request from MSU to enter into a new 5-year contractual agreement with Proof of the Pudding LLC, provide food services at the Templeton Performance Nutrition Center, beginning also on July 1, with automatic 5-year renewals unless terminated. Proof of the Pudding will provide meals and beverages for resale or distribution to student athletes, faculty, guests, and staff. This is a cost-plus contract, which includes a 5% management fee on applicable service cost, estimated at $1.75 million annually, for a total of $17.5 million over 10 years. This agreement is funded through the athletics auxiliary budget and follows a comprehensive vendor evaluation where Proof of the Pudding was selected based on its performance relative to peer institutions. Item 15 is a request from Alcorn State University to enter into a new 3-year exclusive supplier agreement with BSN Sports LLC, beginning on June 1, for Nike uniforms, apparel, and footwear, with 2 optional 3-year renewals. The contract requires a minimum annual spend of $200,000 and includes a $30,000 annual product allotment, a $25,000 one-time campus branding package, and 12% royalties from the online store. Discounts will include 45% on Nike apparel, 40% on footwear and uniforms, and 10 to 20% on other products. This agreement was awarded through a public RFP in which BSN was the sole bidder and will be funded through the athletics department. Item 16 is a request from the University of Mississippi Medical Center to enter into a new 5-year pharmacy distribution services agreement with Morris & Dixon LLC, effective July 1, 2025, and continuing for 10 years through June 30, 2030. Through 5 years. The agreement provides wholesale pharmaceutical distribution services, including warehousing, inventory expansion, scheduled deliveries, electronic ordering, and analytics reporting. The estimated contract amount is $1.35 billion over 5 years, funded by hospital patient revenue. UMMC may amend delivery locations without further board approval if funds are available and the cost of the contract is not changed. The vendor was selected through an RFP, and Morrison-Dixon was awarded based on lower costs. Item 17 is a request from the University of Mississippi Medical Center to approve a second amendment to the master agreement and outcome-based agreement with Novartis Pharmaceuticals Corporation, extending the term of both agreements for 5 years through June 30, 2030. The agreement includes support for the provision of CAR T cell immunotherapy used in patients which have relapse and refractory B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia and other lymphomas. UMMC continues harvesting and sending patient cells to Novartis for therapy preparation under the agreement. The total contract cost remains at $12.3 billion, funded by hospital patient revenue. UMMC has been contracted with Novartis since 2019. Legal staff has reviewed these agreements for compliance with applicable law and finds them to be acceptable, and board staff recommends approval of items 12 through 13.
You've heard the recommendation from board staff. I move to approve items 12 through 17.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Trustee Martin?
Aye.
The motion passes. Bridget, if you would, please ask President Ogletree to return to the room.
That concludes the finance agenda. Thank you, Dr. Pierce.
Thank you. Trustee Rader has asked me to proceed in his place on the regular real estate agenda. There are 5 items on that agenda today. Mr. Brad Rowland will present these items for the board's consideration. So if the record will reflect that Trustee Clark will recuse himself from items 1 through 3 on the regular real estate agenda. Trustee Clark, if you'd leave the room, and then Bridget or someone will let you know when you're able to return. Thank you. And Trustee Clark didn't wear squeaky shoes like I did.
Mr. President, I recommend that we take up items number 1 and 2 as a group to allow for trustee recusal unless there's an objection.
You may proceed.
Item number 1 is a request from the University of Mississippi Medical Center for approval to increase the project budget on the new School of Nursing from $65 million to $68,675. The purpose of this request is to increase the budget to allow needed renovations to the University Rehab Building for the new School of Nursing and will be funded with patient revenues. The project is to construct a new School of Nursing to replace the existing School of Nursing that was constructed in 1965. Item number 2 is a request from the University of Mississippi for the Board of Trustees to approve an amendment to a lease agreement with Tullis Land and Timber LP for a condominium located at 1100 Augusta Drive, Unit 702, Oxford, Mississippi, to extend the term of the lease through May 31st, 2026, with an option to extend for 1 additional year through May 31st, 2027. The university is requesting approval to amend this lease agreement so that the university can continue to use the condominium for university guests and new university employees in need of temporary housing. The university may terminate this lease for convenience upon 60 days written notice to Tullis. The contract amount will be $2,800 per month through May 31st, 2026, with an option to extend the term through May 31st, 2027 at the rental rate of $2,800 per month. Legal staff has reviewed item number 2 for compliance with APCA law and found it to be acceptable, and board staff recommends approval of items number 1 and 2.
Is there a motion to approve items number 1 and 2? It's been a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
The motion passes. Before Mr. Rowland continues, let the record reflect that I'm recusing myself from item 3 on the regular real estate agenda, and I'll join Trustee Clark in timeout in another room. And Vice President Cunningham will lead the discussion in my absence.
Item number 3 is a request from Jackson State University to enter into a new service agreement with Train US Inc. to provide heating, ventilation, and air conditioning HVAC maintenance services for all non-residential facilities across the campus. The purpose of this agreement is to establish a contract with JSU and Train to provide the needed comprehensive heating, ventilation, air conditioning, preventive maintenance services, as well as to have a partnership that is intended to ensure the reliable operation, energy efficiency, and longevity of the university's HVAC systems through routine maintenance, emergency repair services, and system performance optimization. This is a 5-year term contract that will be from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2030. The total contract cost will be $5,426,920. Legal staff has reviewed this item for compliance with APCA law and found it to be acceptable, and board staff recommends approval of item number 3.
Is there a motion to approve item number 3? If so, I can't hear it.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Dr. Cummings seconded.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Well, I'm sorry, Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Motion passes. Bridget, if you would, please ask President Ogletree and Trustee Clark to return to the room.
Mr. Rowland, if you'd please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 4 is a request from Jackson State University for approval to enter into a new service agreement with ATS Facilities LLC to provide campus-wide custodial and housing maintenance services. JSU also requests approval to add or move locations under the contract without seeking prior board approval, provided that adequate funding is available. The purpose of this agreement is to secure a comprehensive campus-wide custodial residential maintenance services for JSU. Under this agreement, HES will provide comprehensive custodial service for all academic, administrative, residential, and auxiliary buildings on campus. And HES shall deliver routine and on-demand maintenance services for residential facilities, including plumbing, electrical, carpentry, and general repairs. The terms of this contract are a 5-year agreement that will be from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2030, with the option to renew up to 5 additional 1-year terms through June 30th, 2035. The total contract amount is for $15,256,332.40 over the 5-year contract period. Legal staff has reviewed this item for compliance with state law, and board staff recommends approval of item number 4.
Is there a motion to approve item number 4? There's a motion. Is there a second? It's been a motion and second to approve item number 4. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Rowland, please proceed.
Item number 5 is a request from Mississippi State University for the use of a construction manager at risk delivery method in accordance with Mississippi Code 31713.2 for the Leo Seal Jr. Football Complex addition and renovation. The proposed project scope includes connecting an approximately 90,000 square foot indoor practice facility addition, while also renovating the interior of existing 80,000 square feet facility in phases, all while existing facility remains operational for the football program. Delivering this project through the typical design bid build method would expose MSU to unnecessary risk, such as errors and omissions in the plans by the professional, unpredictability of the market, which can lead to bids over budget, poor quality, and late project delivery. Given the size of the project budget and the complex scope, the CMAR significantly reduces these risks, which in turn provides a cost and time savings for the university. As of now, the project budget is $500,000, but MSU projects that this project will be around $60 million. And MSU anticipates that there will be multiple phases of this project. I would note that no state bond funds or state appropriations will be used in this project. This will be MSU private donation monies. Board staff recommends approval of item number 5.
Is there a motion to approve item number 5? It's been a motion. Is there a second? Motion and second to approve item 5. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
The motion passes, and that concludes every item on our real estate regular agenda. Thank you, Mr. Rowland. Trustee Heidelberg, if you would now please present the legal regular agenda, and you may proceed with the summary.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 4 items and 1 announcement as part of the legal regular agenda. The first 3 items on the legal reg.
All right. Let the record reflect that Trustee Clark is recusing himself from items 1 through 3 on the legal regular agenda. And Trustee Clark, if you would please leave the room and someone will let you know when you may return.
Mr. President, I suggest we take up all 3 of these items at once. These items have been reviewed by IHL staff and our legal counsel and were found to be compliant with applicable law and board policy. Board staff recommends the approval of these items, and I move that they be approved as items 1 through 3.
All right, there's been a motion to approve items 1 through 3. Is there a second? There's a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
The motion passes. And Trustee Clark will return to the room.
May I proceed?
You may proceed. Thank you.
Mr. President, item 4 on the legal regular agenda is a request for final adoption of proposed IHL Board Policy 1112. At the board's May meeting, we discussed House Bill 1193 passed by the Mississippi Legislature in the 2005 legislative session, which requires the IHL Board to adopt a process by which students, faculty, staff, and contractors may file a complaint with the IHL Board alleging that their university has violated House Bill 1193. After the first reading of the proposed rule in May, IHL staff published the proposed rule with the Secretary of State's office for public notice and comment. No public comments were received. House Bill 1193 requires the IHL adopt a complaint procedure before July the 16th, 2025. Thus, proposed board policy 1112 is now before the board for final adoption. As you are aware, last week a lawsuit was filed in federal court challenging the constitutionality of portions of House Bill 1193. IHL is a defendant in that litigation. The board will receive privileged legal advice regarding that lawsuit in our executive session later today. I have spoken with board counsel Harold Pizzetta, who advises that the file litigation does not change IHL's obligation under House Bill 1193 to adopt a complaint policy by July 16. Mr. President, I move for final adoption of the board policy 1112 and ask that IHL staff to publish the final policy with the Secretary of State's office.
There's been a motion to approve item number 4. That policy was reviewed in detail at our prior meeting. Is there any is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Is there any discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
The motion passes.
Mr. President, there's a final item is just for an announcement. The last week, a federal judge in California granted final approval to the landmark case of House versus NCAA settlement, clearing the way for an historic shift. Division I schools can now directly compensate athletes through a revenue sharing model effective July 1st, 2025. In general, Division I institutions will be allowed to allocate up to a maximum amount per school toward athlete compensation, which is currently set at $20.5 million. This is a cap for the first year, which is expected to increase annually. These payments are in addition to the external NIL, which stands for name, image, and likeness, earnings each athlete may now seek and accept. I have asked Associate Commissioner Harold Pizzetta to work with our university executive officers to arrange a presentation on this topic during our September board retreat. Specifically, we will hear from our university executives how they plan to operate in this very new college sports environment. Mr. President, this concludes the legal regular agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Hallenberg. The next item on the agenda is the information agenda. Dr. Rankins.
Do trustees have any questions regarding items on the information agenda? If none, President Ogletree, I would like to make a statement regarding the budget presentation you just heard under the finance agenda. Trustees, we're at a time in higher education where we've seen more change and more flux than I've ever seen over my career. And the 8 individuals sitting before you, these IOs, they have a very tough job, and it's getting tougher. We were for years at 80% of the SREB average on faculty salaries. and we're approaching 70%. And I'm just very concerned about what that means for our faculty on our campuses, but not just our faculty, our staff who make up a majority of our employees. And if we're not careful, and all of our institutions, just like Delta State, fight above their weight, all 8. But I'm very concerned that if we continue to go backwards on where we are on salaries, our institutions will become training grounds, and we're going to lose a lot of good people to neighboring states. So I want to make that point with the board to make you aware that we're at a point where we can't continue to go backwards, because if we do, it's going to be very harder for these individuals to provide the quality education and experience that they provide for our students.
Thank you, Dr. Rankins. I appreciate your comments, both from your position as commissioner and you having run institutions, your ability to see that from both perspectives.
Thank you, President Ogletree. At this time, Mr. Brad Rowland will provide a brief overview of the facilities inventory across our IHL system.
Thank you, Commissioner. Today, I'll give an overview of our campus buildings and construction projects across our system. I wanted to kind of start with giving the board an overview of what the charge to the board is in regards to our facilities across the system. The board's charge is to exercise control over all lands, buildings, and other real and personal property belonging to and assigned to the use and benefit of the institutions of higher learning. And that is laid out and defined in our board policies. What are the responsibilities of board staff that we share in the role of taking care of our buildings and facilities across the system? The Office of Real Estate and Facilities, which is what I oversee, is charged with responsibility of managing the affairs relating to the capital improvement process, repair and renovation programs, property management, educational building corp projects, private development projects. More specifically, we're responsible for campus buildings adequately addressing academic needs of the institutions. Facility needs are evaluated and prioritized for funding. All funded projects are monitored and kept on schedule to optimize results for expenditures. Construction and maintenance programs are reviewed and monitored for effectiveness across all our campuses. And of course, we're responsible for the IHL complex, which is we manage and maintain as the landlord across multiple state agencies, including JSU University Centers, ETV, and PB, and the multiple state agencies that occupy our tower building. So all of that falls under the responsibility of our department. So I wanted to give some overview of kind of what we have in our portfolio. There's currently 1,631 buildings in the system. As you can see from previous years, from 2022, we've increased about 3% in our total buildings that we've had. So not significantly high number of new buildings coming on board, and same with square footage, about 3% we've come up over those last 3 years. So currently we have 171 active projects going on across the system with a construction cost of about $1.8 billion. So what does that look like? By university, number of buildings and square footage that each of them are tasked with maintaining and overseeing, along with our office. You can kind of see the breakout and layout of where we are. MSU obviously has the greatest amount of total buildings, and that takes into account all the experiment stations, all the ag, and so it makes up 40% of our total buildings, but only 26% of the square footage. So you can kind of see how each one of them compare, but it also lays out the responsibility that each campus has in maintaining and taking care of the state's assets. As we heard last month from Gordian, there's tremendous need across the campus, a 10-year total need of about $2.7 billion across our system. We did not get any capital funding this past year. And so it's going to make all our campuses be even more strategic in how we look to take care of our facilities, through an operational budget. So we had a backlog that will continue to grow as a result. And so it's just one of the many challenges that our campuses face to make sure that our facilities stay operational for our students with limited resources. So kind of how do we compare across the state? I wanted to give some overview of state buildings, our 1,631 buildings. If you look at the community college, it's a little over 1,000, mental health, a little over 500. And the rest of the state government, 34. Percentage wise, we have about 25% of the buildings across the state of Mississippi. And, square footage wise, you can kind of see where we stack up again with the same peer group. Fort Oak, a little over 42 million gross square feet. But if you'll look in this chart, we have about 48% of the state square footage to take care of. Mm-hmm. So it's a challenge for all our campuses. Their facility staffs all do a great job of working with the resources that they're given to be good stewards of what we have in front of us. I want to talk a little bit about preventative maintenance program that we have implemented. In January 2025, we began implementing a system-wide preventative maintenance protocols across the system. I want to thank the commissioner for getting on board and supporting the hiring of a new director of facility maintenance and understanding and seeing the importance of this for the university system. We hired a director of facility maintenance in January. He is housed under our department, and then we've gone to work with each campus working to tag all facility assets, either a barcode or a QR code. And by that, I mean all mechanicals, HVAC boilers, chillers, pumps, motors, everything will be tagged with either a barcode or a QR code. And so we'll be able to scan that with iPads, phones, and be able to pull up serial numbers and model numbers and age of our equipment and when it was last serviced. And so we'll be able to be more proactive in that measure. We're also working with each campus to establish a written preventative maintenance plan for all facility-related assets. In the past, some campuses have some, others don't. And so to have a consistent written plan across the system puts us in a more proactive, mindset. As I said, barcodes and QR codes will be scanned for all related maintenance data and uploaded back into each campus work order system. So the work order systems will populate and be programmed where they'll pop up for the maintenance staff to know when do filters need to be changed, when do belts need to be changed, when do we need service on our chillers and our boilers and our cooling towers, so that we extend the life of our assets, as long as we possibly can without having them fail prematurely. The board office has already barcoded all facility-related assets on our campus, and all assets can now be scanned and tracked for preventative maintenance purposes. We track all our preventive maintenance, and we're in the final stages of our written plan that will be followed by our office on all our equipment. Roofs will be assessed as part of our preventative maintenance program. All universities are required by state law to produce a roof report every 3 years. Our staff will get those and our staff will review those, and that'll play a part into capital funding. And overall stewardship of your facilities. The roof reports will note approximate age, conditions of each roof on campus. They'll have a rating system of A, B, C, D, F that you can follow, so we know how many F rated or failing roofs we have on our campuses on each campus. And then they'll be reviewed by our director of facility maintenance for the system. And so the real goal I have is to shift from a reactive mindset to a more proactive mindset about maintaining all our equipment, systems, and facilities to prevent as many unexpected failures as we possibly can, and to protect and extend the life of the assets. Obviously, we can't assure that all things will work appropriately and never fail, but I do feel like we need to, on our part, be proactive and be good stewards and act in a preventative mode more so than waiting for things to become an emergency. The other way we take care of our facilities is through construction projects. And just to give you some overview of kind of how that works, we see those come up on the agenda every month, but just understanding how those come to be. The project development phase really starts with a need. A need is established, and then we move into a funding phase, a design phase, and ultimately the construction phase that you see happening across the campuses. The project development consists of these: identification of need. It really starts with university staff identifying what real issues are on the campus. We've seen the Gordian report to also give us another baseline of needs that have been identified. Legislative tours show our legislators our true needs that are across our campus. So once we've developed that, the needs will come to our office by June 30th. And then you will see them in October as part of the bond plan that the board approves. So once we've gone through that identification need process, it comes about securing funding. And so that's where you as the board will approve the capital facilities plan in October that we will send forward to the legislature during the legislative session once that we have vetted that. So another way is private donations that some of the universities may receive for certain types of projects. Obviously, monitoring design, that becomes part of our staff's responsibility. It becomes part of the university's staff's responsibilities. And even DFA is involved in some of these project design processes. Monitoring construction is another part of not only our staff, but the staffs of each of the campuses. And then finally, the project completion when you see the building up. Active projects for the university system, I've laid out kind of so you can kind of see what we're doing on each campus. And where the projects are and where the dollars are right now and all across it. We have about a little over $1.8 billion worth of work going on. So it keeps our university staffs busy. A lot of good work's happening, a lot of productivity. Just to give you some overview, 19 of those projects are classified as new construction projects with a construction cost estimate of a little over $900 million. So you can see what new construction means in terms of dollars. I am pleased to say, though, that 146 of those 171 projects ongoing are, and you could really combine the other 5, but 146 are true general R&R projects. So we're trying to take care of what we have. And so I think that's a good mix. There is a need for new construction at times, but there's also an obvious need to take care of what we have. Mr. President, in the sake of time, I won't go through each one of these. I have a list of a couple projects that will be nearing completion on each of the campuses. But I did want to provide that for the board's information. So if you're okay with that, in the sake of time, we will forego that. But that kind of gives an update on where we are at real estate facilities.
That's fine. Do any of the trustees have any questions or comments? Trustee Clark?
Brad, let me ask you this. I know what the inflation rate is, but there have been times in the past, and maybe we're in a time now, where construction costs exceed inflation. Do you have any estimate of what that rate would be?
Once we got past COVID, where we saw an extreme spike in construction costs, it's kind of flattened out now. 4 or 5% is about what we'll see yearly increase on construction cost. So,
okay. Brad, are we seeing the tariffs affect our construction costs, or is that come into play?
It is coming into play, and some of our contractors are already starting to price things with the anticipation of what they may encounter with the tariffs. So it's definitely going to impact to some degree. We haven't seen enough yet to say to what degree, but I do definitely expect some impact from that.
Other questions from trustees? So we're trying to monthly have someone give you a report on things that we do. I didn't have any appreciation for how many buildings we had and how much money we spend on buildings until I came onto this board. And Brad, we appreciate what you and your team do. They do an outstanding job, and you can tell they're moving to become even more proactive so that we are safeguarding the funds that we receive from the legislature. Thank you very much. Are there any additional agenda items to be considered? If not, is there any other business for us to discuss? The board does not plan to have a regular meeting in July. Our next scheduled regular meeting will be on August 21st, 2025. But if needed, a special call meeting will be held pursuant to applicable law. Is there a motion at this time to close the meeting to determine the need for an executive session? It's been a motion. Is there a second? Motion and second to close the meeting to determine a need for executive session. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Trustee Cunningham?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
The motion passes. Since we are in an open lobby, the board will relocate to the SGA office suite and throw out the students there who are good and hard work. Everyone's welcome to stay in this area while we handle the executive session. For the trustees participating virtually, please give us a minute to relocate to the other room. Thank you.